And welcome back to Ray Williams.
It's Wednesday, it's noon, which means it's Kings of Influence live podcast. How are y'all doing? Welcome to the show. My name's Epic Lloyd.
And I'm Ray William Johnson.
And if you don't know, we are the Kings of Influence. We are here every Wednesday, like I said. And if you want to get a text from us letting you know when we're about to go live, please do so. You can text the word Kings to the number 43506, which, by the way, is the only number of any kind of phone number that I've memorized in the last 20 years. 43506, text the word Kings. You'll get one text from us each week that just says when we're about to go live, because we know how crazy the YouTube world is. We know how crazy your lives are. We just want to reach it. We want to reach out and touch you. Speaking about reaching out and touching you.
Oh, my God. Wait, I want to address something really quick. Are we the kings? Are we the kings of influence, or are they the kings of influence?
I think we all as a collective are.
Are we all as collective? Okay.
Yeah.
I think originally that was like the whole crowning of a king thing is like we crown a king every week and it was them. And it was just kind of a cool name to have. And then I'd noticed a little bit of pushback of like, why do you call yourself, you're not the king of anything?
Oh,
or
really?
whatever. Yeah. And it, it's one of those things where you read like one comment and you're like, oh, God, everyone must feel this way. And they probably don't. And I'm just overthinking it.
Yeah.
But I read that and I go, well, no, it wasn't. It was never really meant to be like us. We're not crowning ourselves.
No, but we are the kings of our own castle.
That's true.
We are doing this in what could be considered my castle. So we could be kings, and you're like a king from a king from another mama.
King from another mother. Rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Yeah, that one real works.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we got some cool stuff to talk about this week, and we've also got some calls to go through. You want to talk about the Michael Jackson documentary, Finding Neverland.
Oh, my God.
I got a story about the John Wayne Airport.
Okay.
And some people wanting to rename it because of some questionable tweets of John Wayne.
Okay.
No. But, and also this whole debate about should bigger people pay more on flights has sort of come into the ether again.
It's back.
Yeah, and then we got some phone calls of people telling us their drunkest stories, which is a lot of fun. But anyway, I hope all of you out there in the kingdom and listener land, I hope you're doing well. And that's it.
As do I. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I feel like we might be a little
Lloyd
bit...
doesn't give a shit.
I don't give a shit. I don't know if we're late to the party on this Michael Jackson documentary, but I watched it 2 days ago, and I was glued to the screen. It's like I watched the full, there's two
parts?
Yeah. Each one is over an hour and a half long, so almost like 4 hours worth of stuff. And then there's an Oprah interview after for like extra insight. I watched all of it back to back to back. It was terrifying.
So what happened?
It's just, the one thing that Oprah said that was really good was she, in her career on daytime television, did something like 215 episodes about child molestation, because I'm pretty sure she's a survivor as well.
Okay.
And she said that this documentary in 4 hours did what she couldn't do in 215. And I have to agree with that. There was something about the way that this guy told this story that just takes you through the process and how manipulative it is and how these kids are being groomed and they're like, he's making them fall in love with him so that when these acts happen, they don't feel like it's wrong. They feel like it's just an expression of the love that you have for someone that you love because they're 7.
Right. And
then they go into such graphic detail about the actual things that happen. And you could tell it's two guys. One, I think his name is Wade, and one, I think his name was James or Jimmy. And they are both very obviously have been through a lot of therapy because they're able to talk about these things. They're able to sort of use language that is very descriptive and very accurate, but it's almost sort of clinical.
Yeah.
And they are able to like be in touch with how that made them feel and be outside of their childhood mind and then examine it. So they just, and then they also interview the mothers, because that's the first question you have. Like, where the hell were the parents when this was going on? And you see how, these parents drop the ball big time, but they're also people. And you forget the fact that Michael Jackson, the star power that Michael Jackson is and was, doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
You know, it was just a different level, and probably he tried to do this to other kids, and the mothers or the fathers did intervene and didn't let it happen. But you know, if you try with 100 and you're Michael Jackson, how many of them does it work? It was just it made me want to honestly. It made me want to like never listen to his music again. It made me want to eh, eh, like take any video I've ever made with him in it off the internet. Like the BBC just pulled all of Michael Jackson's music. It was just so
Wow.
yeah. It was really and graphic too, so that like I've never like they were describing these things that happened, and then you picture them in your mind, right? So now I'm picturing essentially child pornography in my head because I'm listening to this person describe this, and I don't want that in my brain. You know, like I had nightmares that night. It was
Oh
like
God.
just awful. But like I feel like it's an important film. Yeah, it was just I can't say enough about it. It's on HBO. I think you should watch. I think everybody should watch it.
So why now? Why are they coming out now?
Well, the guy didn't come out now. There's one guy's name's Wade. He's like a choreographer. They go through the whole trial too. The kid, he testified twice and denied it all, and like was the only reason that Michael Jackson stayed out of jail was because they had this guy, this one particular kid. Well, they both testified once, and then they needed to testify again because I don't know if you remember, but back when the Michael Jackson cases were happening, there was allegations, and then they got overturned, and then there was
Yeah.
more a bunch of years later, and then they got
They got
overturned
overturned.
again.
Right.
But the reason is because these kids were so wrapped up in him and so much in love with him and so much wanting to please him that it almost felt good for them to come to his defense because at that time he had sort of drifted away from their lives, and it was like he needed me again. He needed me to be there for him again. And you just understand how they do that. And then but then it walks you through how these secrets just tear these two guys apart. Like their personal lives, you know, they're both married at that time. They have a kid. It was having children that for the both of these young men that really sent him into a downward spiral. For the one guy, he said because it really solidified the innocence of a child at that age, and he pictured his somebody doing that to his daughter, and all that stuff. And finally, he just had to come out and say it. And so you're still a victim. If you get abused at when you're 7 and that's still messing up your mental state when you're 25, you're still a victim.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's why they came out now. And the guy tried to and they even asked like why not just say it and why not try to attack why not take him to court and not get money? And he said that was a he said it wasn't really about the money because the guy's the one guy's like a famous choreographer. Like he's done Cirque du Soleil and Britney Spears and Sync, and he's got this music studio, and he's like, I mean, from what I could tell, not hurting for money. So he said, you know, uh, the PR and press is a platform, and television is a platform, and radio is a platform, but the court system is a platform. And it was, in my opinion, and in his counsel's opinion, the longest legs. It lasts the longest time, and it has the biggest reach with the biggest implications. Versus, like, if you go on the air and you just say it, it's gone in like 2 weeks,
Right.
you know, and it doesn't really uh, set off a reaction from Michael Jackson's family. They just sort of brush it under the. But if you try to sue them, then they have to do something about it. So that was his, description. And then the other guy, he didn't come out until he saw the first guy come out because the circumstances were so similar.
Right.
Around the same age, they were both dancers. They were both, they both had sort of a little bit like trouble at home. They were both like white kids. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like there was lots there's just lots of
And he
similarities.
probably relived it as he heard the
Yeah.
other guy telling his
And he
version.
was in
Oh
his
my
own
god.
personal hell, and he was like,
Yeah.
"Whoa." And you could see them in the interview. This guy was still going through it. One guy was like much farther along in his sort of journey than the other guy was just like a shell of a man. It was haunting.
Wow.
Yeah.
So why why them and why not you were talking before the show and you said something you were waiting for Macaulay Culkin to hang out because famously he and Michael Jackson had a relationship. and the who else? Oh, Corey Feldman. He
Yeah.
also had a relationship with Corey Feldman. They both adamantly claim that nothing ever happened to them, and that Michael Jackson never did anything like that to them, and that they never saw anything like that.
Yeah.
So I have a theory on why not them, but I was curious since you saw the documentary, what your thoughts are on why not them, or
Uh,
are they just bullshitting?
I think I wouldn't be surprised if Macaulay Culkin was also a victim of that.
Wow.
I the only reason I mean, him denying it says nothing to me about whether or not it's true.
Right.
Because he's holding a secret, and that's like I don't think you or I could really understand that. Well, maybe we could. Who knows? But I things like the thought being whispered in your ear for years and years is like, if you tell anybody, your life will be over.
Yeah.
My life will be over. I'll die in prison. Your parents will leave you. Even if you're as an adult and you rationally understand, like that's not really true. The effects of that from your childhood are thick.
Yeah.
So if that was Macaulay Culkin, like him saying no wouldn't really have anything to do with the truth. It would just be what he felt about it. The only thing that would stand in the way is maybe because of the visibility that Macaulay Culkin had at the time as this child actor. These other boys,
They were
it,
nobody.
they well they I mean they were in their own right becoming little dancers and having their own careers, but yes, compared to the success that Macaulay had, different levels.
Of
So that would be
course.
the only thing that I would say. Maybe he was smart enough to say, I can't touch this kid because he probably has the lawyers to, you know what I mean? That would be my only guess.
Yeah. So my thought with Macaulay Culkin and Corey Feldman is that sort of what you're saying is that they had a little bit too much power, or rather the inverse of that. They weren't like vulnerable enough
Yeah.
for him to have that attraction to them, because when you're sexually attracted to kids, there's like a vulnerability in it too.
Yeah.
And Michael Jackson probably felt that vulnerability when he was a kid, and he was obviously abused as well. And so when you look at a star like Macaulay Culkin in the acting world was as big as Michael Jackson was in the music world at its peak.
Maybe.
Biggest, highest paid child actor in the world.
Yeah, but I mean the difference, like you see these videos of Michael Jackson, he's like like some small country and there's just people swarming the car,
Right.
like trying to rip the car open. It was just like from another planet.
All right. All right. Fair.
Yeah.
But he was huge.
Yes.
Feldman also huge.
Yes.
The two Corys in the
Yes.
80s, the big
Yes.
heartthrobs and stuff. And it just didn't carry the same, like some guys are attracted to dainty women who they can boss around.
Right. Right.
And
Yes.
it has very little to do with looks, although you can factor looks in.
Yeah.
It's like, well, and you've probably heard your guy friend say that. Well, I like her, but she's too, like,
She's not my type.
she's not
Or
my type. Like, I want to say like too smart. Guys don't say too smart,
yeah.
but they'll just be like, oh, she seems like she'd be a handful.
Yeah.
One
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
things,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Sure.
So
And
I think there's some of that plays into it as well. It's like, well, that kid's a star. He's not vulnerable. He's not, because I also imagine that these two boys were from questionable backgrounds as well.
yeah, the one kid's from Australia. You know what I mean? Like a
Well, that is
Brisbane, Australia.
everyone from Australia is questionable.
No, I'm just saying, like, there's no Hollywood in Brisbane. The kid was a dancer there, but like Michael Jackson moved their whole the mom and the kid and his sister left their dad and their other brothers to move to LA to be with Michael Jackson. Like literally like walked out on the rest of the family, because it was that there was that kind of a opportunity. The kid was talented. The kid's a super talented dancer, and the other one I think is a director now too. And he was from I think Simi Valley.
Right. So if you're going to target one of these kids, are you going to target the kid whose family's on board with you,
Right.
or are you going to target the other
Right.
kid who could who has a parent who is skeptical
Yeah.
of you?
Because these kids were sleeping in Michael Jackson's bed
Yeah.
for months. And I don't think Macaulay Culkin's people are going to be okay with that.
Nah.
They're like, he's got no. Hell no.
Right. And all it takes is that one like nosy aunt who's like,
Yeah.
"Wait a minute.
Yeah, what's going on?
What's happening? Tell me the
Yeah.
truth here. Give me all the details."
But it was like so freaking creepy, man, because it didn't happen the first time. It took like, years he would, like, groom these people and, like, be coming over to the house and stay with the mom, and she was like, "I loved him like a son." He was saying, like, "You're the only ones that make me feel like I'm okay. I'm so lonely. Don't leave." It was just I mean, I was never that big of a Michael Jackson fan. Of course I like his music. Everybody likes his music. Who gives a shit? Uh, I was ne I was never like, "Oh my god." When that stuff first came out, I was like, "Yeah, that guy's guilty as sin. Of course he is. Look at him." Like, I don't know, not look at his face and look at his clothes. Look at him. He has a kid around him every day.
Yeah.
He's got a kid in his house. Like, where there's smoke, there's fire, man. That just drives me nuts. So, I think they should pull him out of the Rock of Fame, the Hollywood, the
Rock and Roll Hall of
Rock and
Fame.
Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
I think they should take all that shit away from him, man.
Wow. You
Yeah,
fresh off that documentary,
dude,
I
it's
imagine.
it's stunning how that can affect you. It was a great film. It was a great film.
Well, I can tell you how I felt when all that stuff came out. I believe it was in the was it the early '90s or was it the late '80s and '90s he started getting accused?
The
It was right around that time.
Yeah, 90s he was getting
You're
accused.
right. Okay.
Yeah, late
So
90s, I think.
publicly accused in the '90s, and I remember having this argument, this very logical argument with my friend. Funny, he and I were basically podcasting this issue
Funny.
back before podcast. But he was a huge Michael Jackson fan, and he was like, "They're just trying to get money." It was one of those arguments.
Yeah.
Oh, they're just not knowing anything about any party involved. Well, they're just looking to get rich.
Yeah.
They're just targeting Michael Jackson because he loves, he loves kids, not in that way, but he just loves being around kids. And now they're trying to take him to the bank and get a fat paycheck. And I said, look, man, this is the way I see it. The odds of anyone in this world being publicly accused of child molestation are not that high. Like statistically,
It's one
they're
in
just
6 men.
are accused.
No, are victims.
Right. I'm talking about are accused.
Oh, right,
How
right.
one in how many men are accused? 1 in 1,000.
Right.
1 in 10,000. Not a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Now start looking at even bigger statistics. How many men are publicly accused twice by 2 different people?
Yeah.
Now you're looking at 1 in 100,000, 1 in a million. Okay.
Yeah.
He was accused publicly, I believe, 3 different times.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at 1 in 10 million, 1 in 100 million.
Yeah.
That's making the guy look really guilty.
And how Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like 14 making this argument.
Yeah. And the thing that the thing that is just crushing is that the first 3 kids, they didn't believe him. You know what I mean? You're a 9-year-old kid, you tell your mom that somebody's, touching you, and the mom does the right thing. And by the way, the maid also came out and
Yeah.
the butler,
I heard about
you
that.
know? And then this kid said they settle out of court.
Yeah.
The first one, all right? But they still say you're a liar. You didn't do it, you're making this up. It's your parents, that's what's happening. And god damn, it's just
How much
so sad.
how much money did you get?
I think it was between 10 and 20 million.
Damn.
Which is nothing to Michael Jackson. You know what I mean? And a lot of money to them. But the other 2 kids, I don't think got anything. Like the
Oof.
other 2 kids who came out behind it, and he would like have different kids in rotation, you know what I mean? And like just be spending hours on the phone with them. And
He wasn't monogamous with one kid? Shocking.
well, he would like work his way through one so that when he was leaving one, like if you
He-
really like when you were a kid, you get jealous, if
Yeah.
you're that special person to somebody, and then all of a sudden somebody else comes into the picture and you're not there they're not there, and it creates a void. And then he would use that void to manipulate them. Like, oh, now he comes back to be like, hey, I really need your help. I need you to testify. And then start calling again and like being there and feeding that.
It's like, yeah, like shitty ex who calls when they're down.
Exactly. You're like,
Wow.
where were you when? Dude, and then they show these pictures and
Well, pictures.
just like, photos of Michael with these kids.
Oh.
And seeing it through that lens, you're like, he was a fucking devil, man. Like a devil, like a snake. It was just his eyes, everything that used to be enamoring about him and like magical about him turns to like evil. And I don't think I don't think I can go back.
The man wrote Thriller.
Yeah, whatever.
You're not going to cut him a break, are
Bill
you?
Cosby was really funny.
He
too,
was funny.
You know.
He was funny. That sucks. I am curious. So, I think we talked about this before. I can't remember conversations that I've had in real life versus conversations I've had here. Like, have we talked about this on the podcast?
Yeah, right.
But, I feel like the music industry has yet to go through its Me Too movement. So we did talk about that.
We did.
Yeah. And I feel like what's happening with R. Kelly and Michael Jackson, this sort of retroactive,
Yep.
"Hey, these guys were bad. Now we all need to pay attention and call it what it is."
Yep.
I think that's gonna start happening to current musicians and eventually probably sports stars too. It might just take a little while.
Yeah. I agree. I think it might even be worse than the Hollywood industry.
I That's what it's be surprised I'd be surprised if it didn't. Like how many backup dancers
Right.
to some of these guys, how many backup dancers to even guys like fucking Akon can
Yep.
be like, "Yeah, that guy, he put his hand on my breast, he
Yep.
did this, he."
Yep. 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 And I think it might even go creepier, because rock and roll people are so eccentric. What are
Yeah.
Mick Jagger's secrets?
And they're known to party and there's drugs
Yeah.
involved and
Yeah.
like groupies are almost an expected thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right, and I'm bracing myself for that.
Yeah,
Uh,
so it'll start out with some very legit, like, it's starting out now with, you're looking at these past stars and their bad behavior, and then the society's gonna look at present stars and sort of the behavior that's going on with them,
yeah.
and then eventually, you're gonna get into it's gonna stretch itself like a little thin, and then you're gonna get into groupies who are telling stories, and as you're hearing their stories, you're going, "Wait a minute, you were just a groupie, you went in to have sex with him, and then you did, and then."
Right.
And then it'll kind of, like, balance out as
Yeah.
the way these things
There'll be some
happen.
level of that,
Right,
because
those things kinda come at the end where you go, "Okay, wait a minute, that doesn't sound like
right, we swing too far.
abuse."
Yeah.
Yeah, we swung too far. It doesn't sound like abuse, it sounds like you consented and
And yeah. Yeah.
but he was so much more powerful.
I know.
He had so much more control. Well, but sure, but you also went backstage
Yeah,
to
and wanted to
to give
do
him a
that.
handy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know what else to like,
Tell
that
you.
sucks, but
I I I mean, thankfully, a Michael Jackson situation with these kids, and if one of them came out, that wouldn't fly now, and I think that is a good benefit of what's happened with the Me Too movement is that people are
yeah,
being believed. Wh it
totally agree.
in the, like, the after show with Oprah or whatever, she had the whole audience filled with, I believe male survivors,
Oh, wow.
and I didn't realize 1 in 6 men are sexually assaulted. Like,
That's
as
good.
a child, I mean, that's craziness.
Well, it's good that she's shining a spotlight.
Yeah,
That's a nice twist on it. Shining a spotlight on this thing that doesn't get as much attention and probably should.
yeah, and she made a point to point out certain people, like, one guy's, like, ex-NFL player, one guy's this big tough cop guy. I think Anthony Edwards is the, like, lead of the association, 1 in 6, you know him?
Anthony, the actor?
Yeah,
ER?
yeah,
And Revenge of the Nerds?
yeah,
Oh my god.
yeah, and so I didn't know that about him, whatever, but he was there, and you see these people, and it affects you in a good way. You're like, "Oh, it's not just sort of mousy, like, weak little or weirdos or poor people. It's like this big tough NFL player,
Yeah.
you know? So yeah, very effective. Oprah was a little weird, I'll have to say. Not bad weird, but she was like, "I've been saying this for so long. I've told you for so long." You're like, "All right, ease up,
We get
Oprah.
it.
Like, we get it. You're smart and stuff." But that was the only thing about it that was, like, a little off-putting for me. But still, she was pretty great.
She also did one of the famous Michael Jackson interviews back in the 90s that really humanized him to everyone. Back when he was kind
You're
of going
right.
through his weird phase with the media where they're like, is he bleaching his skin? Is he
Yeah.
sleeping in a oxygen tank? Is he do
Yeah.
Remember like all those
Yeah.
weird rumors?
Yeah.
And then she went and but one of those rumors was he touching kids?
Yeah, she didn't really cover that, I
Does
don't
he have
think.
a pet monkey? No, because
Yeah.
that wasn't the narrative.
Yeah. She probably feels a little bit responsible for that too, because when you humanize someone like that,
Yeah.
it helps them.
Yeah, but, I don't think the allegations were such that she could have
Yeah.
known because I don't remember knowing it
Yeah.
then. In fact, it was a different time, but how could you have that interview and not be like, "So, I hear a lot of kids sleep in your bed."
Right. Right. Yeah, I can't believe it. It was just like everybody just sort of accepted it. Like, he just likes these kids around. and that would just never fly. Now, could you imagine Justin Timberlake just hanging around with a 7-year-old all the time, holding his hand, having like monkey fights with him and stuff, like just everywhere he went? Like, no way, no fucking way. That would be like red flags everywhere.
Can you imagine being 7 and your a pop idol or your pop idol is like consumes you with their sort of star power
Yeah.
and they want to play with you and hang out and you just can't say no?
That was exactly what was the most intriguing thing about this documentary, is they really like the whole first half was like positive. He was like, "It was amazing. I loved it." And when he first put his hands on me, I loved it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is so twisted and so dark.
That
And
is
those
real
guys
dark.
they were able to say that though because they'd been through this therapy. They were able to come to grips because for a long time they were like, "Why did I like it? What's wrong with me? I shouldn't have."
Because you're getting positive attention.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, Jesus.
That's what kids do.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So anyway, hug your little ones,
I
in the
didn't
appropriate way.
I didn't watch that, but I definitely watched the R. Kelly one,
Yeah.
which was the 6-hour documentary, and that will also make your blood boil.
Blah.
Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know if I can
Ugh.
go through 6 hours of that. Oh
But
my
even
god.
when we talked about that, last time, so much has changed since then. Now he went to jail.
Is he in jail, prison now?
He got out on bail.
Man,
But some more women came forward and all this stuff. So that's I mean oh, and then a new sex tape came out.
with a kid.
We didn't even talk about that with a 14-year-old with a guy who looks like R. Kelly and a woman who is reported to be 14, and there's apparently urination on this tape
Ugh.
and a bunch of other stuff. I think it's like 45 minutes long. It's like super long. Um, well, by my standards, I'm like 7 minutes and I'm done.
Yeah.
But anyway, uh, so the weird thing is, and like as a comedian, I want to make jokes about this so
Yeah.
bad, but it's such a horrible situation. But basically, you're watching this tape and no one's showing ID on tape or whatever. You know how old R. Kelly is, but you're like, who's this girl? This unidentified girl. She looks underage. Is she underage? And literally in the tape, I'm going to get graphic here, and quote them. She says something along the lines of, "Don't don't you like effing this 14-year-old
Oh, man. That's
genitalia?"
terrible.
And he says, "Yes, I love effing this 14-year-old
That's
female genitalia."
horrible.
So
God.
they're like incriminating themselves
On the tape.
on the tape in
Ugh.
like the how on the how much how close to the edge are you living
Yeah.
when you're committing the crime and you're verbalizing the crime on tape?
I mean,
Like they
I think that's why I believe in the death penalty. Like,
'cause
could you imagine I would vote for Michael Jackson to be executed. If he was alive and got convicted of this, I'd be like, "Kill that motherfucker."
just reanimate his corpse, kill him again.
I mean, yeah. The only thing that would make me feel a little bit better is probably they'll do worse to him in prison because they don't take kindly to child molesters in
No, they
prison,
don't.
apparently.
No.
Which I hope is not just a rumor. That would be the nicest form of street justice ever. Uh,
You hope it's not a rumor?
yeah, like you hear that and you see it on TV and stuff, but I think it's fairly true. Um,
They weren't nice to Jared from Subway.
yeah, yeah. He's alive or did he die?
He's alive,
Yeah,
but he was apparently miserable,
yeah.
because
Good,
yeah, he feels like he feels threatened all the time and because he had all that child pornography.
good. Fuck him.
Wow.
Um, anyway, I'm glad it's raining today because it feels like it feels like that's what I like about weather and what I dislike about Los Angeles is that when it's always sunny out, it feels like you have to be sunny out, and it's nice to have some rain to accompany this type of a conversation because it feels like appropriate. Like yeah, it's glum, it's wet, it's gray. Let's talk about child
You
abuse.
just want a little nudge to be miserable, don't
I
you?
like it. I like it.
Why can't I be miserable today? The weather's not right. Damn
Right?
it. Well, let's talk about this. Let's move on to a sunnier topic.
Yeah.
Pardon the pun. There's an airport in Orange County called John Wayne Airport.
Yeah.
Okay, they got yeah, you probably heard of it. They got a statue to John Wayne and probably some
The
memorabilia in
Duke.
there and stuff. Yeah, the Duke, the cowboy. Well, an interview that John Wayne did back in 1971 surfaced recently. An interview he did with Playboy. It had been unearthed before, but just not during our current political climate. And in this interview, he said, I have the quote on my computer, but I'll just mangle it instead of pulling that up. He said a bunch of stuff. He talked about, the Native Americans. He talked about he said some things that were homophobic. I think he used the word fag and a couple of to describe a couple of homosexual roles for some other actors. And he said something that he believes in white supremacy
Wow.
until basically the black community can be trusted enough to be responsible for themselves.
Yeah.
That's not his exact quote, but it's pretty close.
Yeah.
Now, there was an op-ed in the LA Times of people of someone who wanted to start sort of a movement to get the name of the airport changed. And obviously there's, John Wayne is an American icon, so there's huge pushback
Yeah.
on this article
Especially in Orange County.
and anyone. Yeah. And I have mixed feelings about it a little bit because I did read the quotes and I was like, wow, that's not only is that dated, that feels dated even for 1971. A lot of what he was saying.
Yeah.
Now, I understand that's post civil rights era, but not too far post.
Barely.
Civil Rights Act 1965. Uh, this happened in 1971, but even some of that stuff felt dated then. Like it felt like he was still saying some things. It's like, all right, man.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Especially if you're from California. I feel like he's feels like maybe the Tim Allen of that generation. Still an actor, but probably one of those who kind of kept their mouths shut when JFK was in office and stuff, and was, maybe more on the side of the military when Vietnam was over there. There was plenty of those people who were
Yeah,
like, these hippies, don't they love our country?
right.
I could see him being one of those guys. Shit, I could see myself being one of those guys. But I don't. Yeah, I don't know. How do you feel about changing the name of the airport? Like, as long as they don't change it to like the Staples Center, like
The Staples Center.
changing. It's going to be a lot of confusion. There's going to be a lot of people flying into Bob Hope Airport by accident or whatever. Changing the name of an airport seems like a lot of paperwork.
Right. It would be like, what would it be like, the Rice Krispies
Mm.
a- Aviation Center or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah. Google International Airport.
Google actually would be cool.
That would be kind of cool.
It's when it's an odd brand. And I'm getting sidetracked, but it's when it's an odd brand
Yeah,
that it feels like, oh, it's like the Staples Center,
yeah,
the Wrigley Field, which I know is iconic, but that's like
yeah.
it's like gum.
Yeah, but Wrigley at least sounds like a name, and they don't say gum. It's
That's
not like
true.
the Petco. You're like, really? Target Center? Ugh. What next? It's CVS Center,
Wow.
like Fresh Step Cat Litter Center. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Changing the name? You think they should change the name of the airport?
Well, my question. Well, sorry, it's hard for me to get over the fact that you maybe inadvertently suggested that Tim Allen is the John Wayne of our time, which I don't agree with. But although I do like Tim, I do like Tim
I
Allen. I
like
like
Tim
his
Allen.
show and stuff. The question for me is more about John Wayne himself. Did he hold those views when he died? Because I want to take a look at context and I want to take a look at his whole life.
Sure.
And there is a world in which he said something in 1971 that reflected beliefs that he didn't hold in 1981.
Right.
And I guess that would be a question for his family and his kids of like, hey, so he said this during this time. It Look, it feels a little outdated, even for those years. What was he thinking when he died?
Yeah.
Was he still talking about white supremacy and the blacks can't take care of themselves and
Yeah.
you know
And was he talking
if the
about white
Indians didn't want us to
supremacy?
take their land, they should have fought harder. And
Right. And was he talking about white supremacy in as much of, like, if you were to say, hey, the whites had more power and held more power in 1971, that would be accurate. They were supreme, I guess, in terms of what they. So was he talking about it like, yeah, we should keep holding this power until they can not, be responsible enough to use it? Or was he saying like, KKK and Nazi and I'm a white supremacist
I don't
and,
know. It's a super loaded, pairing of words there.
yeah. Yeah.
And that's been loaded for a long time. It's you could be talking about all kinds. If you're favorite flavor of ice cream is vanilla and you love it just because it's also your favorite color, and in the world of ice cream, you're like, "I really agree with white supremacy."
Right.
You're using a very loaded
Yeah,
term.
exactly. You're being dumb about the words you
Yeah,
say.
like fine. You can like whatever color and flavor of ice cream you want, but
Yeah.
just say it a little differently.
I feel like here's where I fall on the point. I think that there's that obviously times change, people evolve, societies evolve.
Mhm.
Things were much more segregated and have always been more segregated. I think we're at the least amount of segregation in this country now. Even though it feels polarized, I feel like we are more together than we've ever been. And I think statistics show that as well. I feel like there's a difference between I think what people say is one thing, but what people do is another thing. And did he actively try to push people down? Did he actively treat people badly? Did he actively treat people, violently or whatever? Those are things. And then what else are you gonna change the name of? I like the fact that they're taking statues down in Mississippi of, like, these Confederate heroes and stuff where it's like, I don't want a statue of some guy who was fighting for slaves to be legal in my in the meadow of the school
Right.
or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's whack.
Put it in a
You know,
museum.
there's just a lot of stuff you'll have to change. I mean, Thomas Jefferson, for crying out loud, he's on the quarter, or no, not on the quarter, but like he's on a nickel, and Monticello's on the back, and that was a slave plantation. So you're gonna have to
Wow.
make a lot of changes, and that's a lot of paperwork.
It's a lot of bureaucratic red tape
Yeah,
there.
just a lot. So
If you don't want to do it. Yeah. Well, if you look at a guy like Lincoln, to my understanding, he said, when he was running for president, he was in his primary saying all the crazy shit they say in primaries. And he was saying things like he had no intention of freeing slaves and some things like that. I'm misquoting him. But if
right,
you read just those quotes in his debates, like, "Oh, I would never the blacks aren't equivalent to the rest of us." Hell no. If you read just that, you would want to take down all the Lincoln monuments too.
right,
But obviously later in life, he went on to do a
yeah,
lot more and do some other things and prove that he wasn't that way. I don't know if that's the case with John Wayne.
yeah.
I would hope that there would be something he did later in life.
Do we know how old he was in 1971? Was he like a man? Was he young?
No, he wasn't
Yeah, I
young.
feel like he was already like 50 or
Yeah,
something.
he was old,
Yeah,
I believe.
yeah. I mean, look, not the best look for John Wayne. Is that the battle you want to go to bat for in Orange County? Maybe not.
Well, on which side?
I feel like I think it's really, really complex to change the name of an airport. I really do. I don't think that's easy to do. Maybe it is. Screw it. I don't care. I didn't fly out of there anyway.
Right.
Who cares? Yeah,
I
change it.
I
Change
wouldn't
it
make
to
that.
Denzel Washington
There
National
you go.
Airport.
I wouldn't avoid changing the name just because it's difficult. Like, or rather, I wouldn't make that argument.
I just want if
I
like if
wouldn't be
you have
like,
a if you're Orange County and you have a set amount of effort, I feel like let's just get somebody elected in Orange County who's not a right wing nut, and then we'll change the airport name later. Like concentrate on getting that town to like not vote for Donald Trump as much. That would be what I would be my effort was for. You know,
why do you say that?
because that actually has an effect right now politically and
Oh,
like
that you're saying.
on the society like as a whole moving forward. My efforts would be concentrated on uh something more immediate, I guess.
There's no virtue signaling in doing it that way. When you can point at John Wayne and be like, "He's a bad guy," you're also pointing back at yourself and saying, "And I'm a good guy,"
Yeah,
right? But when you're trying to get people to vote a certain way, it doesn't work in exactly the same way. Especially when you're going up against a dead guy.
yeah, and especially when a bunch of people who could potentially be allies of you could be polarized by that, and then you turn them against you. They're like, oh, this is so. All these libtards trying to change the name of the airport. Screw it. I'm tired of this. You know. So
Love it.
who knows?
Yeah.
So I'll be flying into the Ronald McDonald International Airport from here, and I got a layover in you know Panthro Panthro International.
Well, imagine if there was like a Bill Cosby airport or something.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that would be different. He's got crimes he's been
No, I
convicted.
know. I'm not saying it wouldn't be different. It's just like, just imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine if you owned that airport and you're like, "Yeah, we named it after Bill Cosby in the 1984, and we haven't looked back." And then all this
Yeah.
stuff happens, and you're like, "Damn it,
I bet you there's streets named after him for sure.
Cosby."
Yeah,
Yeah,
Cosby.
probably.
I think there are I mean, I wouldn't that seems or like a wing of a school. I feel like he's donated a lot of money to, I think, like, Temple University or something like that. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they had to change the name of those wings to be something else,
Damn
you
it.
know?
All roads lead back to Cosby.
The cause.
So
Man.
so you know, for the last, I don't know, 20 years or something like that, there's been this debate because I remember it when I was younger about whether airlines should charge bigger people either more money or for 2 seats or whatever.
Yeah.
And I would say the debate hasn't really gotten anywhere.
Yeah.
The laws, at least in the United States, are still, or the rules rather, are the same as they were before, whereas like one person pays for one seat or
Yep.
whatever. So I think it was last week, maybe it was the week before that. There was a guy who he bought an aisle seat because I don't know, he likes the space, he likes aisle seat. I'm an aisle seat guy too, so
Okay.
that's what I would have got. And the passenger next to him comes in, he sits in the middle, and this guy is really big,
Big as in, like, fat or
fat, yeah,
okay.
overweight,
Okay.
and is filling up not only his seat, but like a third of the aisle guy's seat,
Yeah.
which I've had happen to me before
Sure.
and sucks. And so, to my understanding of the story, I mean, I'm just gonna narrate it and paint the picture for you, just so we can get to the argument. This may not. This is a dramatization of what happened. Raises his hand. Yeah, flight attendant, can you find me another seat? And they're like, I don't know if we can or whatever. And they say, and the big guy, he offers to move. Like, well, I'll move if I get it. He's embarrassed,
Yeah.
but they can't find any other seats for him. The flight's full, and the skinny guy's like, look, man, I paid for the seat and everything, and I don't even get my full seat, and this
Right.
sucks. And he's kind of making a scene, and the big guy is like, well, I'll pay you $125
Really?
just to compensate. And so the skinny guy's like, yeah, fine.
Wow.
Like, fine, pay me. So he pays him. Now, obviously, the story blows up,
He
goes
paid him in
viral.
cash just, like, right there?
I don't know if it's cash or check, but he paid him.
Wow.
Um, the story blew up. The skinny guy, the aisle guy, went and did like an AMA on Reddit and was like, "Yeah, I was the asshole who did that. Here's my side of the story." And he explained it in such a way where you go, "Well, yeah, you pay for a seat and then you only get 2/3 of it."
Yeah.
I don't know if I would have accepted anyone's money, but I would have been upset, as I have been upset internally upset in the past when these things have happened to me. I've been on the middle when it's sitting in between two big people.
Yep.
Now, I gotta say this though, as a short guy, airplanes are like the one area in life where we win out over tall guys. It's the one thing. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a short guy, you're not getting picked first in basketball.
Yeah.
You know, the beach volleyball team isn't going, yeah, I want Ray to guard the net. That,
No.
that does not happen.
No.
Dating apps, they're not looking at you. They're looking for the big guy first.
Yeah.
And when those guys turn out to be assholes, then they go to the shorter guy.
Yeah, they're looking for me to, like, crawl in a window somewhere or, like, sneak out of a crack.
Exactly.
That's what they're looking for me to do.
Exactly. And so this is the one thing where I'm like, cool, I have leg room.
Yeah.
The one area in life.
Yeah.
And when I hear tall people complain about it, I'm like, fuck you.
Yeah, right?
Oh, you poor dear.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, it's like a system of checks and balances,
yeah.
because it is. You're like uh, where I start to wonder about is like, okay, there's people who are overweight and you have a certain amount of control over that. But if you're just Andre the Giant, you don't have any control over that.
Yeah.
You're just huge. And I think the airlines need to accommodate for that. It doesn't make any sense to me that they don't have seats that are larger. Like, they have first class seats,
Mhm.
but the prices are that's not fair.
No.
It's not you're not because you're not paying for when you pay for first class, you're paying for all those first class perks and sitting down first and this food is like, that's not what I want, man. I just need a larger seat.
Yeah. I need
I
space.
just need a larger seat. And man, airlines, I hate how much power they have over you. It just drives me nuts. I hate that feeling of powerlessness where there's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to give you shit. And now you got to pay for this, and now you got to pay for that, and it drives me nuts. I don't think it's right for the guy to have to hand over $125. I feel bad for that guy. He must be so
I do too.
embarrassed, you know.
Yeah.
But it always takes an asshole to move the needle. As uncomfortable as it is, it always takes an asshole. Could it be man? Could it be female? You gotta be a dick because the guy's kind of right. You know, I felt the same way about one time I was sitting in uh I chose my flight based on the fact that the flight had Wi-Fi on it. And I paid extra for that flight. Not for the seat, but I could have chose Delta or American and whatever. And it was at a time when there wasn't Wi-Fi everywhere or whatever. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna take this flight. I'm gonna choose Wi-Fi. And then I get there and it's just like, yeah, it just doesn't work.
Ugh.
And they're like, you what? You said you have a thing, and then I bought that thing, and then you just don't have that thing. That's ridiculous. And at the same thing with this, it's like I bought this seat, and now I just don't have this seat. That's you can't. No other industry works that way, other than maybe iTunes when you buy a song and then they just make you download it every time you want to
Oh
listen to it
God.
again. They're like,
Yeah.
no, I'm just gonna hold your shit, and when you want your
Yeah.
shit, I'll make you wait for it. Like
Yeah.
that drives me nuts.
And while we're on the subject, here's some U2 that you didn't want.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
didn't want U2.
Yeah, it's I feel like they're gonna have to figure something out because if you are massive, I don't think it's safe. It's not safe. Like if you're 400 pounds and you're in an, a tiny seat like that, 400 is maybe an exaggeration, but even if you're 300 pounds, there's nothing safe about that. I bet you the seatbelt doesn't even reach around.
Well, they have extensions for that.
Oh God.
Uh, uh, they give they give the sort of pre-flight announcement, and they're like, your seat cushion can be turned into a flotation device, except for you.
Yeah,
No, you're gonna sink right to the bottom.
yeah.
One of the better things I saw on a flight, speaking of, before I forget, early on, I was a lot younger, and it was one of those smaller planes where, like, instead of a one row with two seats and another row of two seats, it's like you got the one row with just one seat,
Right.
right? And it's like the best thing ever. They don't have to sit next to anyone; it's just right there. You got window and aisle,
Yeah.
best of both worlds. And there was a French guy. He was very French, sitting in just the singular seat, and someone goes, "Hey, or a flight attendant goes up to him and says, "Hey, we have a passenger with a broken leg." He had one of those broken leg with a full cast, and his leg was stiff.
Yeah.
He couldn't bend it, and and they said he kind of needs to stick his leg into the aisle. Would you be willing to switch seats with him? And this guy, uh, this French guy, was like, "No."
No, not
And
my
they're
problem.
like, and like it sort of took the flight attendant aback a bit. She's like, "So you don't?" But he can't. And he's like, "No, I chose the seat. This is the one I wanted." And it was he wasn't a dick. He was just like very nonchalant, unapologetic. And they're like, we'll give you free drinks. And he's like, "No."
Yeah, France.
I know,
France.
but he's right. He's
Yeah.
right. He's like, that's not his fault that the
Yeah.
other guy broke his leg.
Not my problem.
No,
man.
I chose this seat.
Not my problem.
I chose this seat. And then I was so inspired that a few years later, when I got asked, "Hey, would you change seats so this couple can sit together?" And I had the aisle seat I wanted. I was like, "No,
Yeah.
I'm a nervous flyer. I like the seat. This is where I chose this.
Yeah.
I'm good." If they wanted to sit together,
You can figure it out.
Yeah.
Also, there's 300 more seats.
take care of that
Yeah.
before you get on the flight or break up. I don't care. This is my seat. Anyway, back to the big guy. So I was thinking about this, and on one hand, you don't want to discriminate against people who are bigger for any reason. You don't want to fat shame. You don't do any of that because that's wrong. On the other hand, every other form of shipping requires you to pay more if your item weighs more, including your baggage on the same fucking plane. Your
Yeah.
baggage weighs more, you got to pay more.
Yeah, I'm fine with paying more. You just have to get a bigger seat. And it has to be a different option than the first class option. because I don't want all those perks. I just need more room. You know? Like, you're right. If you're huge, your pants cost more, your shoes cost more,
Yeah.
you eat more food, it costs more to keep you alive. So that makes sense. But you can't just shove me in one tiny seat.
Right.
That's not right, and it's not fair, and I don't think it's safe.
And I'm sure they're as miserable as you are.
Yeah, they don't wanna be there, and
Yeah.
I bet you they would all do it too.
Mhm.
Because then I don't have a problem with being like, "What's up? Dude, what the fuck, man?" Like, don't try to that's like when people bring their dogs in the plane, I can't stand that shit, man. You're not This is not your service animal.
Yeah.
You're abusing this system because you don't wanna pay to do the right thing, which is either ship your dog. Yeah, it's dangerous to put them under the plane. You can't do it if you have the dog. What if I'm allergic to dogs? What if I'm sitting next to you, I'm allergic to dogs or afraid of dogs, or I just don't like dogs, which is the opposite of the truth.
Right.
Ah,
What if your dog makes me nervous?
yeah, I'm a human.
Right. I need a no dog support.
I love the guy who tried to bring on like a service iguana or something like that. Like he was just like, yeah, they're doing it. Okay, I'm bringing on this monitor lizard.
This is
Sorry,
wow.
I think they didn't let him on.
Good. This is my service pony.
I was up in where was I? Lake Tahoe, and I went to a restaurant, and there was a sign outside the door that said, "Emotional support animals are not service animals. There's a difference, and they are not welcome here." I was like,
Wow.
"Yeah!" It's just like if you're blind, or if you have seizures, or if there's something real, of course. If your tiny eagle food type dog is like you want it in your lap all the time because it makes you feel good, no, wrong. Stay home. Not
I
okay.
I've never owned a restaurant, but I've worked in plenty, and I got to totally agree with you. People abuse that system all the time,
Yeah,
and I know that there are plenty of scenarios where people have, emotional support needs,
yeah,
right? Where they do need an animal for this, or it makes them feel better, or whatever. But I feel like as a business owner, I would reserve the right to be like, look, no, I get that you have a condition or whatever, but if this isn't a seeing eye dog, you can't bring it in.
yeah.
Like we're trying to eat in here, and so I imagine you had some other condition like, I don't know, explosive diarrhea or something, and every time you came in, you deuced all over the booth.
Deuced in
I
the
would
booth.
reserve the right to be like, look, I feel bad for you and your condition, but like you can't come
You
in.
gotta handle that.
Yeah, you gotta take care of it. Or even I was in a restaurant one time in New York, and this individual sort of back to my left clearly had the extreme form of Tourette's,
Okay.
um, and wasn't saying like the curse words,
Hmm.
but was like, "Man, I don't want to imitate it because I don't want it to feel like I'm mocking it," but would just, s-
Blurt things out.
but they weren't words. It was like she would be like, "Yeah, man, ah!"
Yeah,
Like that thing, and I
yeah,
don't want to mock it or anything like that. And it was extremely distracting.
yeah.
And I remember feeling like, man, I feel incredibly sorry for that person, but also I'm not surprised if she or he, I can't remember, doesn't get asked to leave from a lot of different places
Yeah, that
because,
I feel that's pretty tough. I don't think you can take somebody out for that. I hear what you're saying.
yeah,
There's a certain amount of give that society has to make on the whole to be like, look, I'm sure she doesn't want to be that way either. Sorry, this is ruining your steak dinner. Everybody's got to pay a little bit of that tax to be okay for everybody. Yeah, it's the same. Like if things need to be wheelchair accessible, and
yeah,
and you have to make room for that. I'm fine with that. I just don't like it when people abuse systems that are clearly there to help people, and then you use that as a loophole just to make your life a little easier. You know, you, someone who's like, I had a guy ask me one time if I would sign some forms to be okay so he would get unemployment. When you don't, no, I'm not going to sign that form so you can get unemployment. I know I'm not going to get in trouble. I don't like it.
yeah,
Go get a job.
good,
They're ridiculous.
good.
Like I hate that type of shit. Like pull your weight.
It's like you see this a lot in LA because the homeless population here is so high. You see the homeless guy who you're like, bro, you look like you just left class over
Yeah,
at UCLA,
yeah,
and
yeah,
now you come out here begging, or that you beg during the day so that you can go surf during the evenings
yeah,
over in Venice Beach. You see that a lot in LA,
yeah.
where I don't want to guess anyone's like financial situation, but you go, man, you're in your 20s and you're over here begging, and I feel like you could work.
Yeah.
What
Some
are you
people,
doing?
man, I was in an Uber the other day, and and we stop at a stoplight, and the Uber driver, there's a guy at the stoplight, sort of panhandling or whatever, and the Uber driver, uh, uh, had a sandwich in the car. It was his lunch, and this guy, like, most likely is this his second or third job. He's literally eating lunch in the Uber. He's making his. He goes to give the guy his sandwich. He's like, "Here you go." Guy says, "No, I don't want a sandwich." That drives me crazy.
Wow,
That I mean, they're just drug addicts. Those people are drug addicts. Certain ones are hungry and
certain
stuff,
ones, yeah.
but that guy was just wanted money for either booze or drugs or something like that. Like, it was just so telling to me. Like, here's this guy about to give you the sandwich that he's going to eat in his car while he works his third job, and you're saying no.
No, you want the capital.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't mean to switch subjects here, but this is interesting. I just remembered this, and I should have brought it up earlier during the Michael Jackson thing. Kelly actually has been to Neverland Ranch
Oh
a
wow.
ton of times when she was a kid.
Whoa. What?
So yeah, that's what I said when she told me, and she said she never met Michael Jackson. He was never there. But I think she knew someone who was like, you could, who let her go with the groups through her mom or something. So she said it was great. It was like a full amusement park. You had to take like a little, I think she said you had to take like a little train to get there or something crazy like that.
Mm.
And it was huge and it was fully operational, but your group was the only group there. And you could play the carnival games all day. You could ride the rides over and over and over again. Free like candy and food until like and she said they would just eat
Yeah.
till they got sick
Yeah. No doubt. Great facility.
and just barf everywhere.
Probably really fun. You know.
Anyway, yeah, sorry, sidebar.
Yeah. Fair enough. Well, anyway, I feel like we don't want to run out of time too much today. Do we have some? What do
Oh
we got
yeah,
lined
well
up?
we can play make it or not make it or break it. We can play why am I blanking
Stoner
today?
thoughts?
Stoner
It's 'cause
thoughts today.
it's stoner thoughts.
Yeah, it's because it says show up stoned.
Stoner
There we go.
thoughts.
All right, what are the rules of stoner thoughts?
Stoner
Not
thoughts
really
is a
any
segment
rules.
we do here. I know, right? There's no rules.
Are no rules. We find some stoner thoughts and then we riff on them.
Yeah,
And
pretty much.
there's just shit we pull from the internet.
Yeah,
And you guys can play along at home.
that means you.
To fall in love at first sight is probably the most shallow way to fall in love.
Whoa.
Whoa. Very, very true.
Is that? I fell in love at first sight, kind of.
Yeah, but it's like you're look, they accuse people of being superficial.
Oh.
Oh, you just love them for their looks. What do you think love at first sight is?
Right.
You
Right.
just
It's
you,
not like love at first emotionally sound interaction.
yeah, exactly.
Right. A love at first mutually respectful night out.
Love at first like 12th date.
Yeah, right.
Love at first intercourse. No, it's like love, at first, sight.
I know.
Love at first intercourse. What's happening? There we go.
Stoner
No.
thoughts.
A human with robotic limbs is amazing, but a robot with human limbs is absolutely terrifying.
It's a cyborg.
Oh,
Ugh.
but in the worst way.
Yeah.
Imagine RoboCop with like one sort of Hulk Hogan arm.
I feel like I've seen action figures like that in the past. There is just like, oh, robots, 2 arms.
Oh, or like Wally with just a human neck.
Good.
No, thank you.
Stoner thoughts.
The recommended age to have a Ouija board is 8+ years old. So you need to be 20 years old to drink alcohol and 8 to summon the devil.
8 years old to talk to your dead grandpa.
That's right.
Ah.
Ouija boards are such bullshit.
Yeah.
I actually, first of all, they're made by like Milton Bradley.
Yeah.
I had one when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Total bullshit.
You're moving it. No, you're moving it.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you're moving it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stoner thoughts.
The one downside of having an identical twin is if they decide to do porn.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah, I guess so. Twins are such an interesting thing, man. Identical twins is such an interesting. It's the best example of nature versus nurture. Because nature, you're identical, and then you grow apart
Hmm.
because of nurture. It's so funny because We talk like Wax is a mutual friend of both of ours, and
Yeah.
he's a twin. And him and his brother lead fairly different lives, but they look the same and they have the same kind of a voice. If my twin did porn, I mean, at least you get to visit the set, right?
I don't know if I want to visit a porn set.
Yeah,
I'd
maybe
be
it
worried
takes
about the way it would
admission.
smell.
Yeah, you might be
Damn, smells like sodomy up in here.
right.
Stoner Thoughts.
The people that go crazy on Black Friday, probably the same people that would become looters during an apocalypse.
Whoa.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yes, they're the exact same people.
Yeah.
The exact same people. Those grab and go,
Yeah.
smash and grab kind of people.
Yeah.
Just the worst people.
Everything for me. Yeah. That's what I feel like that's what you should do. If I was into an apocalypse, I would set up like a decoy dummy pile of stuff to cull the herd of all those people. Like some sort of booby trap that would like an ant trap. Like they all get attracted to it and you take them all out at the same time. And then you and everybody else has got a decent head on his shoulders still. You have another cache back in the shed or something. That's so if it happens, Ray, and you see just a pile of food in the street that looks too easy,
Yeah.
don't
No, it's a
do
trap.
it. It's me.
Like if it's got the cardboard box with the stick holding it up,
Yeah.
it's probably a bad idea.
Yeah, it's me.
Food inside of an open cage.
Yeah, just
Oh, yeah. What
bunch
is
of
this?
bottles of water.
Interesting. Someone left In and Out inside of this refrigerator box under a stick.
Boom.
Stoner Thoughts.
For as often as people must die in them, you never hear about haunted ambulances.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. I think that'd be the first place
Yeah.
they'd haunt. The
Right?
ambulance.
Or a hospital. Haunted hospital, I feel like you might
Yeah,
hear
you've
about.
heard of like haunted old hospitals, haunted abandoned hospitals, haunted graveyards, but never in the ambulance.
That's right. Because they're trying to save the life, but they probably lose him there.
Yeah.
I've never been in an have I? Maybe I've been in an ambulance once.
Nah, I've never been in one.
I think I've been in there once. When I broke my ankle and I don't know, they called an ambulance.
Should have seen the other guy.
Yeah, right? I kicked the shit out of that
Yeah.
guy.
Stoner Thoughts.
There is no proof that everyone sees the same colors.
I know.
I think about that quite a bit, actually.
I know. Like this is like black to you,
Uh-huh.
and it's always identified as the same because it's always a constant color to you. But who knows if you actually see it? Like, how do you describe a color?
Right. It's nearly impossible to describe a color without referencing another color.
Yeah, or maybe a temperature. But who the hell knows what a temperature is?
No, you wouldn't.
Crazy.
What?
Maybe white. Maybe no. Can't do it.
Nope, you'd have to describe other colors.
I wouldn't be surprised if everybody does.
Stoner
Sorry. That's
Thoughts.
me cutting you off the way the Academy Awards does. About an hour after the final scene in many Disney movies, the main character will be losing her virginity.
What? Is that real?
Yeah, of course it's real. It's like they fall in love. What do you think, they wait to bone?
Like Frozen?
I don't remember what happened at the end of Frozen.
Oh.
But yeah, they probably
Wow.
boned in Frozen
They
after
boned in Snow White.
after
They
the-
boned in Cinderella. Yeah.
Yeah, like Aladdin totally boned Jasmine after the end. Like he killed a villain for her. What do you
Yeah, show some respect.
maybe you owe him a little.
Encourage that. Reward that. He
It's
just
so wrong.
fought an evil guy who knows magic.
Yeah. You don't think Mario's ever done Peach?
Peachy.
Peachy. All right, that is our stoner thoughts.
Hey.
Hey.
Stoner thoughts.
I do have some calls I want to get to.
Yeah.
So last week we asked you guys to call in, tell us some drunk stories. Got a ton of calls. A lot of them were really good. Some of them were incoherent. Some of them were like, well, that's too racy. Or there are other calls that are just like that. So obviously we love you. We love your calls. We couldn't have them all. Got about 4 of them. So anyway, next week let's do my parents are so crazy that they
Oh boy. Here we
or
go.
my parents are so bad that they blank. That's good. So look, guys, you're gonna call us. You're gonna leave your name,
Here's what you're gonna do.
your first name, because people don't leave their name, and it's stupid.
Yeah.
Your first name. You can make up a name if you want. Your age, so we can tell how old you are, and tell us the story in less than a minute. Your parents are so crazy that they what? Or they're so horrible that they did this. That number is 321-222-3179.
All righty.
321-222-3179.
The phones are ringing off
Off
the
the
hook.
hook.
All right. Well, what do we
Okay.
got? We asked
All
for
right.
drunken stories.
We got drunken stories.
Yeah, we don't support the abuse of alcohol on this
Correct.
show.
Correct.
And if you have a problem, call AA.
We'll call the show, leave us a message, and then call AA. All right, so we got Anna, who's 25.
Hi, my name is Anna, age 25. It's a story about how I got blackout drunk at my friend's place, and it could have ended up really badly. Yeah, he was a work friend, and I didn't realize he had a drinking problem. Every time we hung out, he would always be drinking, and one time we hung out at his place, watching movies. I got really drunk and blacked out on his bed. I remember him just going to play a video game on his computer, and then I started throwing up. Next thing I remember was him carrying me to the bathroom, and then I just kept throwing up in the bathroom. I got in the shower somehow. Next thing I remember, I was in his bed, and I only had a bra on. Everything else was taken off. And when I woke up, he was still at his computer. He didn't do anything, like nothing happened. And I found out afterwards that every time I get really drunk, I would go in the shower and throw up with my clothes on, and that's why my clothes was off. So a few months later, we started going out, and we've been going out for almost 3.5 years now. Yeah, okay.
Nice little love story.
Yeah. That's the danger of drinking too much when you're a young lady, man.
Yeah.
You got to be careful.
Yeah.
Luckily, this gentleman is a gentleman, and he did it right, and that's what you should do. That's what you need to do is take care of these people. But, man, that you are running a risk. If you're anybody, guy, girl, but, specifically if you're a young lady.
Doesn't surprise me. I agree with you, but it doesn't surprise me that he didn't try anything. Not because he sounds like a stand-up dude.
Yeah.
Who really liked her. Obviously, they've been together for 3 years. But also, ladies, you're at your least attractive when you're vomiting. Guys will put up with a lot, and guys have this. We have this saying, or some guys do. They have this saying, oh yeah, I'd still smash. I'd still hit that, or whatever. It's kind of a joke. That's not what anyone says after someone vomits.
Well, yeah, for sure.
Especially when they vomit on their self and they smell like you probably didn't smell all that great, Anna. No offense.
It's just not a pretty sight. Hopefully all you're doing is vomiting, but half the time there's,
Also, maybe it wasn't that he's a good guy. Maybe it's just that World of Warcraft is really good.
I'm about to win.
Can't be messing with her. I gotta finish this level.
Ah, jeez. I've had that happen to me where I went on a date with a girl. It was like a first date, and we both were drinking, but I don't know what happened, why she got very, very sick. And I do remember her being surprised that I was just nice to her, which is so sad.
Yeah, that's sad.
I remember she was throwing up in a laundry basket. It was empty, but I was just holding it and
with the holes out the side.
Yeah.
Oh God, why bother?
Yeah, I don't know why. It was just the only thing that was there, And I was holding her hair back and stuff, and it would just be between every heave or whatever, she'd be like, "I'm so sorry, you're so nice." I'm like, what else would I do right now? Would I leave you here in the room? God. But I think guys are assholes just on the whole, man. Just complete pricks. So be careful. Please be careful.
Yeah, well, you risk, or the young ladies risk, obviously being groped or touched, or what's not nearly as bad, but still very much an asshole move, where the guy's like, "I'm out."
Yeah, just being abandoned.
Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. Which I guess isn't maybe it's a crime. I don't think it's a crime. It's just it's a dick move.
It's a total dick move. But this guy, Anna's guy, he saw her pretty much at her worst.
Yeah.
And was still like, yeah,
He's a keeper.
I'm going to play whatever it is, Civilization 4.
I like that he was still awake playing when she woke up. That's a long game.
Yeah.
If you drink that much and then pass out, you're not waking up at the crack of dawn, I don't think.
Well, he can hold his liquor and she can't.
Yeah.
He can still make complicated, like, digital chess moves when
I've
he's
never
drunk.
I've never played World of Warcraft.
No, I haven't either. But he can do that when he's drunk, and she's just like, "I'm gonna vomit on myself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna." I don't know if she took her clothes off or if he did, or if it was a mutual thing.
Yeah.
Um, I don't. I don't balk at someone who's like, "We gotta get these clothes off you. You fucking reek."
Yeah, no. I don't think
I don't.
yeah, that's that's an interesting question
Yeah.
because
It's like you want consent, but at the same time, you're like,
I gotta get you out of these clothes.
You're really bad.
You got vomit on you. This is
Yeah,
bad. Yeah, I think. Yeah, that's a weird one.
it is a weird one.
That's a weird one. I would definitely want someone to take my clothes off. I guess if especially if you're like puking all over yourself. Like get me out of these clothes. Get me in the shower.
Well, I've been in those moments, and I have memories of being in those moments, and the only thing that crosses your mind is not the embarrassment that someone's gonna, see your shriveled dong because the shower water's too cold.
Shriveled dong.
The only thing going through your mind is, "Please, just help me.
Just help me.
Just help me. Just somebody help me.
Just help me,
Just
please.
help me."
You
That's
got
it.
Yeah.
So if you ever find me like that, guys, strip me butt naked
Yeah. Get me out of my.
and help me wash myself and get me to bed.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like if you get rescued by the EMTs or something, they're taking the clothes off if they need to take them off of you. They're doing something to help you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little different when it's some guy creeping on you
Yes.
or something like that.
Yes. And also, if someone came into that situation and there's a woman who's very drunk in that bed without any clothes on, and I mean, luckily you're at the desk, but if it's your bed,
Yeah.
you're like, hey, I had to sleep here or whatever. Like, you're suspect. Now
Right.
you are suspect. Yeah.
I'll just take her at her word literally just so I can make a few jokes about it. But she said the only thing she had on was her bra,
Uh-huh.
which would suggest none of it was strategic clothing removal at all.
Which says that it was her taking it off, which I
Right.
think she also said. Just like,
No, well, she said she woke up with no clothes on.
Oh.
I listened to it twice because I was trying to figure out, did he take your clothes off or did you take your clothes off? Or did you just agree?
Right.
Or what? Or how did that work? But yeah, there's no scenario in which you wake up with just a bra on only, and that was someone's incentive to get you that way.
Yeah, sure. I don't know.
Well, if you're gonna strip someone naked, you just strip them naked.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think bras are one of the most interesting pieces of clothing that has been invented. Like, there's no other article of clothing that is essentially a piece of clothing, but it's also like a structural tool. Like, there's nothing else like that.
Right, and also has sex appeal.
And also has sex.
Other
appeal.
than my jock strap.
Yeah, but a jock strap is for like a shield, to hold a shield,
True.
right?
Wait. No, you're thinking of a cup.
Right, but don't you put a jock strap
No,
holds a cup.
Yeah, I don't know how those work. It's been too long.
Yeah.
No, I think you can have the strap which keeps your junk from bouncing around.
High and tight?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you also got the cup. So you can have
Yeah.
just the strap with no cup.
Okay, so
Anyway.
maybe there's two things. Moving on.
Anyway, moving on. Steven, 21.
Hi, my name is Steven. I'm 21 years old, and this is one of my dad's drinking stories from when he was a little younger than I am right now, so probably about 19, 20 years old.
Breaking the law.
So him and his friend, they of course got a bunch of beer from some people who were of age, bought for them, got really drunk, and they decided to hop into my dad's really, really big truck. I can't remember what kind of truck it was, but it was a really big truck. And they thought it would be a good idea to go around joyriding, drunk as hell in the middle of the night, pitch blackout. So whatever, they drove around, had their fun, went home. He dropped his friend off, and then the next morning, he woke up, hungover as hell, turned on the TV. The news channel came on, and a local news channel was putting up a story about a local golf course that had thousands upon thousands of dollars of damage done to it from a vehicle. And when my father went outside to look at his truck, he found fake grass and turf completely covering his truck. And so immediately, of course, he just wash the truck off so nobody would know. And to this day, nobody knows that my dad was the one who caused thousands of dollars to our local golf course. And he said that the only thing that he remembers from that night while he was drunk was that he noticed that the grass that they were driving through was really, really nice. Very, very green. But, yep, that's my dad's drinking story. So thank you very much, and have a nice day.
That guy
No
was
one knows
very
until
polite.
you tell us
Yeah,
on the
right?
radio. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I always tend to think people exaggerate those stories. And here's why. Because Dad was coherent enough to do plenty of things like drop his friend off. He knew the directions. He knew all that. All that seemed to work out, but he didn't realize that he was driving onto the golf course.
Well, sometimes when you're wasted drunk, I mean, driving drunk, again, we don't support driving
No.
drunk. I bet this is a small town. Feels like a small town story. So,
Totally, which makes me even think it was exaggerated. Like, I believe more that it was exaggerated because you know more of your town when it's a small town.
yeah. I think that I feel like that would be something that would happen in my town. There's a little golf course in my town. I bet somebody would tear that shit up.
And not remember it completely, but remember other parts of the night?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I feel what you're saying. Like,
It's
you're
weird.
driving, you realize there's no road anymore. You're on grass.
Right.
I wonder if he's either exaggerating or his dad is just lying, and they were like, let's go tear up that golf
Yeah,
course.
I
son."
was suggesting that Dad was exaggerating, not son.
Yeah. I think,
That they knew that they were tearing up a golf course.
yeah.
And-
Well, one thing you forget living in Los Angeles is like what the dark is. Like, there's no darkness here.
That's
It's
true.
never dark. And small towns, there's no lights in that golf course. It could be the only lights coming from your truck. There, that maybe you just see it's like some sort of horror movie or something like that. You just tear it up. But yeah, there's always a pretty big drinking stories are like fishing stories.
Right.
You know, there's always the guy in the fight was a little bit bigger.
Right.
You always did a little bit more damage. You always said something a little bit cooler.
It's however many shots you really took
Yeah.
times 1.5
Yeah.
is what you would say.
So drunk.
Oh man, I had 19 shots.
No, you didn't.
No.
You'd be dead.
That didn't happen.
You'd be dead.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. Fairly. It's crazy how drinking laws have just evolved. Like, I feel like Wyoming. My wife's from Wyoming, and it only became illegal to have an open beer in the car like 10 years ago. It was still legal to just have a road beer in Wyoming.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not that I wish Katie was here. We would look that up. But yeah, like you could just have a beer in the car. Like even like in the 70s,
That's impressive.
you know? They're just like, get home. Yeah, you drunken bum.
Well, I feel like the big anti don't drink and drive push was sort of in the 80s. So the 70s makes sense to me.
yeah.
But going into the 90s and 2000s, not having open container laws while you're driving, it seems absurd.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Like the 80s, Reagan, the drugs, probably the 60s a little bit, but yeah, Wyoming's a tiny population-wise state. I think it's
Yeah.
the least populated state. So, and the people that live there, they have so much land. Most of them, not most of them, but like there's a lot of land and not a lot of people. So
I know.
you just drive, and sometimes you need a beer.
When we were touring, I was looking up places to like states to hit, and Wyoming was one of them. And there's just not enough. There just weren't enough people in any of
Yeah.
the cities for me to
Jackson
be like,
Hole,
we
maybe.
gotta stop there.
Yeah.
Because the thing you risk is not having enough fans in one place.
Yeah, and then the travel time.
Yeah. Right. Because you gotta, yes. So, anyway,
Anywho.
this guy's name is also Steven, and
Okay.
he's 30.
Hey, Ray. Hey, Lloyd. This
Hi,
is Steven,
what's up?
age 30. My drunken story doesn't involve me, more like somebody I witnessed. So I'm a truck driver, and I was ironically delivering a load of beer, Budweiser, to a distribution plant in Charlotte, North Carolina. And as I'm going along, trying to find this location, I couldn't quite find it, so I stopped into another distribution center to try to ask them where this location's at. And just as I hop out of the truck, I start walking towards somebody and hear a very loud crash. Now, the road where I come off from was up a little hill, so I couldn't quite see what happened. But hearing the sound, I instantly knew what it was. Rushed to my truck to grab my phone, was dialing 911 as I ran up, and came upon an accident involving a work van and a Mazda 6. And I'll never forget the sight of the guy in the Mazda 6, because the door had been ripped open and his knees were shoved into his chest, and in his hand was a red Solo cup. And most anyone can tell you 90% of the time what a red Solo cup is and found out that the driver of the Mazda was blazed off his rocker, going to work that day. And it, like I said, it had really messed me up, and I've so much gone against drinking and driving ever since then to anyone I've ever talked to. But sorry to be a somber story, but enjoy the show, guys. I love you.
Wow, love you too, Steven. Yeah, I imagine he was traumatized by that. He saw a wreck and the door was ripped off the Mazda and the guy's knees were in his chest.
Was he dead? I wonder if he was dead.
I don't know. Probably not. He was still holding his red Solo cup.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Don't drink and drive. Christ's sake. Don't
Wow.
drink and drive. We're crying out loud.
Didn't let go of his cup
I know.
while his knees were going into his chest.
I mean, that could just be reflexes or whatever. I feel like I've seen I've definitely witnessed the carnage of drinking and driving before, or like reckless driving, and it could, that was I always wanted to be a firefighter when I was a kid, and then growing up, I learned that a lot of what firefighting is mostly like being an EMT, and
being
first
paramedic.
responders, and I was like, nope, I'll fight fires. I'm not gonna fight that stuff. So, yeah, that's crazy when you hear that sound and you know what it is in your bones. You hear that, sometimes you hear that, and your mind is just waiting for the impact, and you don't hear it, and you're like either relieved, but sort of it's unresolved or something. But I've heard that sound before, and it is terrifying.
With the crunch and everything.
And yeah, I hope everybody was okay, but usually they aren't.
No, that guy wasn't.
Yeah.
Well, or you're in your car and you hear that, you're in your car and you hear the, and you go, fuck.
What's behind me?
What's behind? Yeah, I'm waiting for that to hit me.
Yeah. Yeah. And now they have those cameras on your car. Well, no, I guess they aren't going when you're driving forward, but I'm always looking in the mirror and you wait, you see the car coming up behind you.
Yeah.
Oh, it's creepy. It's creepy. Yeah, I hope that cars become automated pretty soon, because a lot of people won't be dead.
Carless drivers?
Yeah. And it won't be
driverless
it sucks
cars.
when you're the victim of a drunk driving accident and you weren't the one drinking.
Yeah.
Like, that sucks. That's awful. It's a big crime here in LA and
Good.
in California. It is. You're vehicular homicide. I think you can get convicted. You can go to jail for the rest of your life.
Good.
If you kill somebody. Yeah.
That's super shitty.
Yeah.
Super shitty.
Yeah. Yikes.
Okay, we have an even more somber story.
Oh my gosh.
From Anonymous.
Thank God it's raining out.
Yeah, I don't know how old Anonymous is because they don't follow directions. But here we go.
Hey, Ray. Hey, Epic Lloyd, or Lloyd as you like to be called.
Yo.
I have a pretty crazy story for you. Back in Maine, when I was 4 years old, me and my father would go up there all the time, and we brought my grandmother along with us. I was 4 years old. This is back in 1997. I'm 25 now, so 21 years ago this happens. I went up to me and my dad and my grandma, and my dad, we were by a lighthouse and a beach, because that's where we vacation at, and my dad told my grandma and me to go to a bench and to sit down because he was trying to make a phone call because he didn't have good reception, so he was trying to walk around a little to find a reception. So he told me and my grandmother to sit down on a bench. but she did not listen, and she took me to the edge of the beach because there was a cliff. So we're on the cliff and we're looking outward towards the beach. She didn't listen. She got up and walked towards there, and as I was standing next to her, she actually winded up slipping and falling off the cliff, and she broke her neck and died. So, yeah, pretty crazy story. She slipped in the middle of the night. It was nighttime, and she slipped, and I saw her die because she did a somersault and broke her neck. So, yeah, that happened when I was 4 years old, and it ruined my family for a long time, and still pretty crazy. I tell people it all the time, and they would never believe me. But yeah, things happen. I love the podcast. You guys keep trucking. Have a good one.
So that was one of the crazier things. That's the last one because I wanted to put the craziest one last.
I mean, was alcohol involved?
Right. So I want to point that out. I'm going to go out on a limb here because Anonymous said it tore his family apart. He went out on a cliff with his grandmother. Grandmother slipped. He was 4 years old. His grandmother slipped, fell off the cliff, broke her neck, and it messed up his family. I'm gonna say it messed Anonymous up, and he's still messed up about it. Here's why. We asked for drinking stories.
Yeah.
He calls in and tells that one, which is an incredible story, but it's very off topic. He claims that he tells people all the time, so that's a tell, and that they don't believe him, which is another tell, because that means it bothers him and he notices it.
Yeah.
So this is very much still on the forefront of who Anonymous is and what he's thinking about, because he saw his grandmother break her neck when
What's
he was
awful?
4.
Like, that's like a horror movie for crying out loud.
I know.
The most poignant thing that he said that I thought was like things happen, life happens. It's so true. In a split second,
Yeah.
you're just not prepared for what's going to happen, and that's one of the reasons why you got to sort of be as appreciative of the life that you have, because you don't know, you could slip and break your neck. You
Right.
could slip and break it. A friend of my dad's was on a ladder, just doing some work on a gutter, slipped, landed the wrong way, broke his neck and died. And that wasn't even a cliff. It's just a ladder.
Yeah.
You could go. I'm sorry that your grandma died, man. That sucks.
And I'm
Yeah.
sorry you're still dealing with it.
Yeah, it's awful. I felt like it was one of those. I felt like we were Maury Povich there for a second when people tell their stories it's just cathartic to try to tell it. You need to tell people.
Yeah. That's why I say I think he still carries it with him.
Yeah.
In a big way.
Yeah.
21 years later, because it's still weighing on him. He still has to talk about it.
Yeah. I mean, it would make sense if she had been drinking that night, she would be a little less aware, a little less stable, maybe more dizzy or whatever. You do kind of dumb things when you're drinking.
Yeah.
So, geez.
I mean, that tops the drinking stories, even though it's not a drinking story.
Yeah.
Because that is
We should do some happy stories.
incredible
on
in
this
the
damn
worst
show.
way. Well,
Yeah.
hey, Anna got a 3.5-year relationship out of
Yeah, there you
her
go.
vomity night of drinking.
Who says that being blackout drunk always leads to bad things? She found her love.
That's right.
Good for her.
Her true love, which is a guy who loves Warcraft more than her.
Well, at least that her.
Yeah. So, Anonymous, man, I don't know if you talk to anyone on the regular about that. I mean, professionally, but I feel like you should. You can let some of that stuff out, and then you wouldn't have to play this game of like, well, I tell these people and they don't believe me kind of nonsense. Also, who openly says, no, that didn't happen? Like, someone tells you a story like that, you're like,
Yeah.
whatever.
Liar.
Bullshit.
Get out of here.
I call bullshit.
Get out of here. Yeah, that's yeah. I feel like everybody's got one great invention and one great story in them. And I wouldn't call that a great story. It's a shocking story. It's an extreme story.
You mean like one unbelievable story?
Yeah. Everybody's got one of those.
Okay.
So I believe people when they tell me that. Why would you make that up?
I don't know. What do you gain from making that up?
Attention, I guess, maybe, if you're really desperate for attention. But he sounds like a nice Maine dude.
Yeah.
I liked, what I did like hearing is a little Maine accent in my ear.
Yeah.
Because it brings
And they
me
were at
back.
a lighthouse, which is very, very Maine.
Yeah, so Maine.
Yeah.
Man.
what the hell? I can't get over that.
Yeah.
If Anonymous was my boy, and then I heard him tell that story to another party, and that other party was like, "You're a fucking liar, man,"
Yeah.
I would say, Anonymous, you need to not hang out with
It's
that
grounds
dude.
for an ass whipping.
Yeah.
Well, it's when people I was in gymnastics and you see people's bodies fly through the air in unnatural ways when you're in gymnastics. And
Yeah.
usually it's beautiful and elegant. But I've seen people crash bad.
Oof.
And that is very it's a shock to your system. You see a body flail, you see things go in ways that they shouldn't go. Sometimes if they break something, arm goes in a weird way. I to this day can't watch like football injury replays because I've broken my leg like that.
Ugh.
I've seen people break their arms like that. And I don't think they should show those injuries on TV because I literally involuntarily turn my head like that. And they just show it in slow motion. Oh, look at that arm break. Look at it again. Look at it again. You wouldn't do that with any other kind of trauma. It's tough to watch. It's tough to watch.
Well, that is our stories and our calls, man.
Yeah. Thank God for the rain. It made these stories feel right.
It was a reason for you to be in a grumpy mood.
Yeah. I'm not grumpy. I feel better.
Exactly. Because of the rain. So, guys, call in next week. Tell us your stories. Tell us how crazy your parents are or how bad your parents are. My parents are so crazy that they blank. So, call 321-222-3179. Leave us a message. Tell us your name, your first name, your age, and how crazy were your parents.
That's
gonna be fun.
Loco la cabeza.
That's going to be fun.
Yeah. That's our episode for this week. We're here every Wednesday at noon Pacific time, and you can always listen to the podcast wherever podcasts are. So iTunes, SoundCloud, wherever you want to get a podcast, we're most likely there, and we're on the YouTube channel. So please subscribe and share with your friends.
All right, guys, that is it. We are, all of us collectively, are the kings and queens of influence.
Yes, we aren't crowning anyone this week. Is that right?
Yeah, no, we won't crown.
We won't crown anyone this week. You're all kings in our opinion. So thanks for listening.
All right, guys, love you.
Bye.
Whew.
Wow.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for sticking around for the chat.
Yeah. The digital Q&A. Thank you guys for watching. Thanks for listening. I saw there's like maybe almost 170 people in there today.
Yeah,
That's pretty
cool.
Great.
Yeah, cool.
You guys are a strong crowd. Oh
Love
my
it.
gosh.
I know. Those headphones get hot.
Yeah, they do. Do they interact with the audience at the end? Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we do.
I'm actually concerned that, of the audience getting into the several hundreds when we're live, because then you can't. It's harder to do the Q&A. It's harder to do the interaction.
It flies by. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually.
Yeah, I do feel like Abdullah says, I feel like those drunk stories are going to escalate quick. I feel like people are going to try to one-up each other with the extremities.
Of the parents thing?
Just of whatever.
Sure.
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
As long as everyone realizes it's not therapy. We are not therapists. I am not a licensed therapist. I don't know if I hopefully made that clear enough.
No. This is unsolicited advice,
Right.
I would say.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks, Shannon. Good to see truckers in the building again. Moldova.
Yeah.
Is Moldova California?
Thanks, Shannon. Moldova?
Yeah.
I think it's a country.
Is
Or is
it?
that Maldives?
Yeah.
It's Maldives. I don't know where Moldova is.
Watching from home, you got suspended. The red arrow. What did you get suspended
What
for?
did he get suspended? What was he doing? Was he fighting?
Fighting? Maybe it was
Probably
talking in
nothing
class.
that cool.
Probably cell phone use.
Oh my God. I bet kids do get suspended for that.
Oh.
Love the segment with the stories. Definitely should have a different topic each week. Yeah, okay. So we'll do stories and calls each week, I think.
Yeah.
Because the stories are cool.
We could even break up the calls and do it like story calls.
Story couple calls, story call.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. So stories are cool. I like doing the calls as well.
Yeah.
It's a little more interactive for us.
Yeah.
And the calls just go in all kinds of, like, you never know what I'm going to get when you push that.
What
that
was
button.
the craziest one you got that you didn't take?
I take the crazy ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, honestly, the ones that are harder are the ones that are sort of like, I hate to
Bland.
say mediocre, but
Yeah.
or like stories that you've kind of heard before.
Yeah. We got really drunk.
We
and I
got drunk,
puked
got into a
everywhere.
bar fight.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, I've kind of heard versions of that story before. You're great. You sound great. You sound nice. But that's because I'm thinking about how is the audience going to react
Yeah.
to this?
Yeah.
And are they going to be like bored or whatever?
We should definitely do a positive one too. Like, what was your greatest moment of championship? Like everybody's got those moments of triumph where you're like,
Yeah.
like I like to hear those stories too.
Okay.
Mm. What you guys should tell us in the chat? This is actually a good question of like, what are some stories we should ask to get from the audience? Not like your specific story, but what are the topics we
Wait,
could
wait,
talk
wait.
about?
Sorry, this is distracting, but we got to talk about this. Red Arrow got suspended because he made a joke on Facebook about a school shooting. He got suspended because he made a joke on Facebook.
Well, good. Don't make jokes about fucking school shootings. What are you doing?
Especially not on Facebook. No,
What are you
I'm
doing?
pointing out. I agree with you, but I'm pointing out the fact that you can get suspended for something you write on Facebook.
Oh, like
That wasn't a thing when we were in high school.
no, and that's your sort of your personal life too.
Yeah.
Interesting. I guess though, but you're broadcasting it to the world. You know what I mean? You're putting it out there, and if you drove to school in a Confederate flag car,
Mm-hmm.
it's your personal car, but you could get suspended for that.
Right, or a gun in your car,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah,
But
yeah.
also, you're joking about a thing that involves potentially that school.
Yeah.
So I can see them being like, "Yeah, no,
Yeah.
this isn't cool."
It's like if your parents aren't gonna like discipline you, we will. Because I guess it does take a village. I think it's crazy when people don't step in and say something. You're supposed to, but then at the same time, if you do, someone's like, I didn't give you consent to come into my conversation. But it's like a double-edged sword. They're saying if you see something, say something.
Yeah.
But then you're shaming someone publicly for what they've done. It's like there's
Well,
no win.
What you here's the biggest loss. The biggest loss is a school shooting happens and then someone points and goes, "Hey, this student was saying this shit on Facebook for years and you guys knew it and you didn't say anything."
Right.
That's your biggest loss.
Right.
And so in order to cut your losses, yeah, sorry Red Arrow, I'd suspend you too.
Yeah.
If it were my school and
Yeah.
I was in charge of that,
Yeah.
I'd put you in timeout for a couple of days.
Bad.
It's actually
Bad.
it's probably the least of what he could have gotten. They probably could have expelled him.
They could have talked to the cops, maybe, depending on how old he is.
Right, depending on what the joke was.
Someone just suggested that we ask people to tell their stories of how they met their significant other. That's nice.
Okay.
Mine's a good story. I'm not going to tell it now, but like those are fun,
Okay.
interesting, or yeah, stuff like that. That's a good one.
Okay.
How a stranger has helped you. I have a couple of those. Those are great.
How a
When
stranger has
just
helped
a
you?
perfect stranger out of nowhere just saves your ass. That's
I
feels
think
good.
about that one.
Yeah.
How a stranger has helped you. Got to learn what you post has consequences. I agree, Jackie.
Yeah.
Your job could be fired. Yeah, I mean,
Oh yeah, true.
the Red Arrow said he understands. Yeah, man, not trying to come down on you or everything, but from the school's perspective, they don't want to be like some of those schools or like the FBI,
Yeah.
who sometimes gets caught in these situations where they're like, "Hey, this guy was still buying guns and he was on your don't buy gun list.
Yeah. You
So
didn't say
what the
shit.
hell were you doing?"
Yeah. See what happens when you don't think outside yourself or how you could affect others. Yeah, it happens. It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially when you're joking around on your personal social media, you forget.
Caught cheating stories.
Whoa.
That's fun.
Like cheating on a significant other?
I say leave it for open.
Okay.
Cheating, however.
Just caught someone cheating.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Caught someone cheating. Cheating stories. Those are fun.
Oh, crazy quitting work stories.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Do you see that video of that guy who went into McDonald's or whatever and just had a whole rap song about how he quit? And it was like he just rapped it right to his boss in the middle of the store, and like they got it on tape. It was pretty great. That's cool. Police stories. Those are always fun.
Police stories. Nice.
Man,
Craziest job stories.
just pull top questions from Ask Reddit.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Luke Perry death. Oh yeah, Luke Perry died.
That's
That was-
right. He did.
So did
He
the
had
guy.
a stroke.
Yeah, I know. And the lead singer of Prodigy. Too,
Yeah. Breathe the pressure.
Yeah.
Under pressure. Come play the game. We'll test ya. Yeah.
Oh, man.
I loved Prodigy. I had that album
Yeah.
back in the day.
I met a YouTuber in real life, and he was a jerk. It's funny how people are so different.
in real life.
Yeah, it is.
Was he a jerk online?
What? Yeah, I almost want to know who it was.
I probably wouldn't recognize the name as
Anymore.
there's so many these days.
It was Epic Lloyd.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's only a surprise. In fact, some of the people that I've seen, like, if someone said I met Logan Paul and he was a jerk, I would say, well, yeah, but isn't he kind of a jerk online too?
Yeah.
Is that
That's sort of a character.
Yeah, like that's kind of his thing. So I am curious if the person is sort of nice online and then they're a
Yeah.
jerk in real life.
Yeah.
Or maybe you caught him on a bad day.
Yeah, everybody's human, but I do think if you're one of those YouTubers who like makes a point to be nice on, and that's your thing, be nice in real life too. Don't act like, oh, that's my character. I don't have to be like that all the time. It's like, well, that's
Or
kind of like you like pissing away the success that these people have helped you grow.
yeah.
Don't be like that.
Or you're like a motivational guy and then you meet someone in real life and you're like, you'll never
Yeah,
you'll never
you're a
succeed.
failure.
You're not gonna make it.
You're dead.
Yamalas, the strangest places you've had sex.
Well, okay.
In the butt.
In the butt. That was an old like dating game.
Yeah, it was an old
question.
dating
I
game.
remember
video.
that.
In the butt,
In
Bob.
the butt. Strangest thing. Nice cop stories instead of bad cop stories. It's cool. A good cop
I
stories.
don't know how interesting that would be, but
Yeah, I don't know.
I-
If you get saved by a cop or something like that, I feel like I'm trying to remember a nice cop story. I think I have a couple. I have a lot of cops in my family, so I'm inclined to want to have those nice cop stories.
well, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, you guys, those are all great suggestions. I need to get out of here.
Okay. Yeah, I got some stuff to do too.
Yeah.
But guys, love you. Love spending time with you. Love doing the chat and everything. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah.
Call us again. Well, I'll put the number where you can see it in the description or wherever.
Yeah.
And you can tell your stories, and hopefully you guys will get on the air and we can keep doing it. It's fun.
Cool, guys.
And yeah, Katie had to take off this week. She had a family member had surgery or something, so she'll be back next week.
Fair enough.
Speaking for all of the females in the world.
Yeah, it's nice to have her on the show. I
All
enjoyed it.
right. All right, guys.
Later, y'all.